2013 selection show for the League of Monday Morning GMs. I'm your host, Chris Berman.
I'm just kidding. I wouldn't do that to my worst enemy. I'm Bob Costas, finally growing out my beard.
And I'm Rachel Nichols, the journalist, not the actress, making every story a serious one.
Well, Rachel, this is season 3 for the league, and it looks to be the most competitive yet, with 10 very wry and wise teams vying for the cash and ultimate bragging rights that come with winning the title.
Absolutely. Before we begin, let's cover a few ground rules.
Oh, absolutely. We want to be a unified and close-knit organization, all on the same page so we don't start resembling the 2012 Jets locker room.
It's true. We prefer to keep it classy, like the New England Patriots, only without the murders.
Yeah, so let's get down to business. There are 10 teams in the league this year. The buy-in this season is $20. The league champion will receive $140. The runner-up will get their money back by winning $20, and the team with the best regular season record will win $40.
We are also allowing keepers this year. 1 keeper per team, and the player must have been on the roster at the end of the championship game to be eligible.
When you keep a player, you will lose the round the player was drafted in the year before. So if you drafted Adrian Peterson in round 2 last year and wish to keep him, Adrian Peterson will take the place of your second round pick.
If a player was drafted in the 10th round or after, or undrafted, he will take the place of your 10th round pick. If you aren't sure where a player was drafted, go to our league page and click on History. There will be an option to see the 2012 draft results.
You have a week before the draft to submit your keeper to me by Facebook message or text. I'll confirm the player around and your selection will be made. You can also choose not to keep a player at all and just start your entire roster over.
But where's the fun in that? Mr. Costas will be sending a message to all league managers in the next week regarding payment information. However, your payment must be submitted before the draft this year.
Otherwise, we're going to harass you until you actually make the payment. Lastly, we will no longer be doing waiver order by going from the worst to the best team. For week 1, the waiver order will be in reverse order of this year's draft order. And after that, if you claim a player off of waivers, you automatically reset to the back of the waiver selection line. So if you're selection number 1 and you choose not to take anyone for that pick, you will remain at the number 1 position until a week when you finally do select a player, and then you'll go back to the back of the line.
For any information on scoring, please visit our league website and go to the scoring rules page. Feel free to contact us for any clarification on rules. Let's get to the good stuff.
All right. Coming up next is what we've all been waiting for, the team previews and selection of this year's draft order, right after this message.
Did you know the nearest star to Earth is 57.35 light years away? Every time you fill your diesel truck with gas, a dolphin chokes to death on a Pepsi can, raising the Earth's temperature by 3 degrees. And you're playing fantasy football?
Welcome back. Before we get to the actual draft selection, in our league, the winner of the previous season gets to pick where they want to choose in the first round of this year's draft. So we're going to have to take it to this year's champion, Eric, making his decision from Houston.
Hi, I'm Eric Kazisto, last year Fantasy Football League champion. I can't tell you how much my life has changed after winning the Fantasy Football League. I mean, I got a beautiful wife, I got all of this, and I even joined the Brazilian Mafia. Anyway, this league is a competitive league, so I want everybody to know that the championship is still staying in Houston, Texas. I mean, me and my wife last year got 1st and 2nd place. The league champion of the year before got 3rd. I don't remember who got 4th place. I mean, they don't even get medals in the Olympics. And this isn't the Olympics. This is football. I'm looking at you, Nick, and I want you to do better in this league. This is your league, and I want you to take control. Last year, where were you? And I mean, there's a lot more strategy this year too with keepers and trading. There's going to be a lot to do to manage your team, but it's okay because Kobe will still mess all of it up. I mean, besides me and Mary, a lot of good things come from Texas. I mean, ExxonMobil, Rick Perry, the Dallas Cowboys, and Kobe Robert Kenny.
Well, I'd rather be dead in California than alive in Arizona.
Ha! That's very true. That's very true.
That's right, Eric. Hi, y'all. Eric asked me to tell you how my life changed after winning second place in the league, but it kind of didn't because I won second place the year before. Well, this year, I'm gunning for first. There might be a few threats, but, well, as long as my record is better than the Dallas Cowboys, I'm happy. And, well, even Corey and Kobe can manage that. And let's be honest, they're not going to win the league this year. So, as Ricky Bobby used to say, if you're not first, you're last. So, if you want to know the secret to my success, well, it's a secret, so I ain't gonna tell you. But, well, good luck trying to win the league this year. I know I might be the smallest, and I might be the youngest, but definitely been kicking y'all's butts all season long, so look forward to another season of that.
So from all of us at the Kazisto household, I just wanted to say, good luck.
And better luck next year, because this year the championship is staying in Houston, Texas.
Murder. We all know it's wrong. But you've thought about it.
Welcome back. For those of you just joining us, I'm Rachel Nichols, finally completing my transformation from fiery redhead to news-ready, serious brunette. I'm waiting on Bob Costas. We will be beginning the draft order selection process shortly.
What's up? Oh, hey, no, I ran into Bob out there, and he said it was cool if I came and just joined you for this part.
Okay.
Johnny Manziel.
Big shocker. Manziel is here on the set.
Yeah, I know I'm in college football and this is an NFL draft, but, you know, for me, it was a great last season for us, but it's been an even better off season for me, and I've been very blessed, my family's very blessed to be able to send me to the NBA Finals. I've gotten to meet all kinds of celebrities, go to concerts, show up on Bourbon Street at 4 in the morning, and when I heard about this, I had to make it out to the draft, had to make it out to the selection show.
Okay.
Now, are you cool if I tweet a picture of us? Just be cool. Okay. Oh man, that's perfect. AJ's gonna be so jealous. So how's this work?
Anyway, joining me for the draft selection process, I guess, is Johnny Manziel and not Bob Costas. Johnny, what I have here is a jar with all 9 remaining league members. Their names are written on a note card inside of an envelope that is sealed. I'm going to ask you to draw one out one at a time at random to determine the draft order. Pick number 10.
Will do, Rach.
You're just supposed to pick one at random.
Oh, well, trust me, I know what I'm doing. Who in the world licked these things shut?
Is that supposed to be you on your sheet?
Yeah. T-Money.
Love you, Trey.
Which do you think was more painful for Trey to have to endure? His subpar showing in last year's fantasy season, or every season of Texas football since Colt McCoy left?
Or is it harder to watch Will Muschamp succeed while they sit under Mac Brown still?
I don't know. Honestly, Trey might not have had the worst fantasy football roster last season, but he probably had the most forgettable one. Trey's keepers are basically a barren wasteland. But the good news for Trey is that he can, if he chooses, wipe his roster clean, select a new quarterback, and have a fresh new start.
If only Texas were so lucky. Trey is most likely to arrive late for the draft and auto-select a regrettable first-round pick. Just a hunch. All right, and pick number 9. Just don't take them all out.
Have to prove that it's legit, huh? It is Leslie.
Last season proved to all the doubters that Leslie Ann was anything but a one-hit wonder.
Absolutely. After winning the championship 2 seasons ago, she started out 0-3 for the second year in a row, lost her second overall pick, Fred Jackson, in Week 2, and still came back to finish with the best regular season record before finally losing by less than 2 points to the eventual champion Eric in the semifinal game.
We should all count on her to hate her team for the first month of the season and then come back to be a major contender.
After all, considering she won her championship with Tim Tebow as her starting quarterback, it's safe to say she's earned the benefit of the doubt at this point.
We have Leslie Ann as the most likely to form lifelong, unbreakable bonds with her fantasy team players. All right, on to pick number 8.
Colin. Oh, he's going to be pissed.
We consider this league to be as exclusive as they come. We have spent the last 2 seasons fine-tuning team owners to finally come up with the absolutely stacked league we have now, where no one has an easy week.
And yet, somehow, the only new player we allowed in is someone who last season drafted Michael Vick in round 3 and actually started Vince Young for a game. His 4-interception game.
Did he play in another game? But despite that, we believe that Colin I'm So Awesome Bates has potential. Or we just needed a crappy team to beat up on. One or the other.
A self-proclaimed fantasy genius, Colin I'm So Awesome Bates acts as though he's been very successful in other leagues. However, this season, he's joining our league, meaning he won't be able to get away with his lies and will actually have to prove that he can win at fantasy.
This will also be a difficult season for Colin because it will be the first one in which he actually has to lose with dignity in order to be a good example for his son, Levi.
When things inevitably go south, we can expect Colin to turn to desperate measures, trash-talking all hours of the day, trying to throw in real-life favors while begging for trades, and possibly getting so desperate that he'll write down a bunch of ideas on pieces of paper, put them in his fedora, and let Levi pick out the one that he will enact. Which actually might be for the best, since Levi already knows more about fantasy football than his dad does.
Colin is most likely to claim credit for the success of other teams that do well by announcing that they were following advice he gave them. If Colin is actually giving out good advice to other teams, he certainly isn't heeding it himself. When you're on my side of the ball, it's important to let people know how awesome you are through your sack dance. That's why I have several. And when I'm sitting around trying to come up with them, I'm just saying, a little inspiration never hurt anybody. Okay, pick number 7.
Corey.
By way of his own personal motto, if you're not first, you're last, Corey Miller finished dead last for the second year in a row last season. He actually lost in the semifinals, but you wouldn't know it by talking to him.
Generally regarded as one of the most obnoxious, exhausting, and competitive players in fantasy football history, Corey's "everyone is against me" paranoia has continued to rise to new heights. Over the past 2 seasons, he has accused 2 players of colluding over a Ben Tate for Eli Manning and Mario Manningham trade, essentially accused all the Texas players of colluding so that he could add a team from Arizona, hinted that last year's draft order was fixed, and has threatened to, / actually has quit 3 different times. There are now rumors that there will be a side pool this season where players can attempt to pick the week that Corey will inevitably quit for an hour.
That's correct, Bob. But the most infuriating for all fellow team owners is the fact that Corey continues to be one of the best players in the league. Over the last 2 years, he was runner-up in year 1 and a semifinalist last season. He also shows no signs of slowing down.
Yeah, and you may love him or hate him, but until he proves otherwise, you have to assume that Corey is going to be one of the heavy favorites to take home the trophy this season.
We have Corey as most likely to act like he's doing you a favor when he presents a trade where he receives Calvin Johnson for Mark Ingram and Deshaun Jackson. All right, on to pick number 6.
Suspense. Scotty B. If anyone needs a good fantasy season to lift his spirits, it's Scott Becker. The Spurs loss in the finals was one of the most traumatizing sporting events I've ever seen in my life. And I'm not even a Spurs fan.
I can only imagine the devastation that a lifelong Spurs fan like poor Scott must feel. Or he's already lifted his own spirits by spending the summer in California on the beach and fist-bumping Kawhi Leonard.
Scott made the playoffs last season, so he doesn't need a complete overhaul, but he'll have to do more than change his team name 8 different times this season to win.
We have Scott as most likely to suffer defeat by less than a single point. After all these horrifying losses, those 4 championships must seem a long way away. We're getting down to it, Johnny. Would you pick number 5, please?
Absolutely. Brian Cummins. Brian Cummins stayed true to himself last season by selecting Tony Romo as his quarterback at the beginning of the season. The eventual result of this was him escaping with his wife to Europe for the summer to get away from the shame.
It's okay, Brian. We've all made the mistake of selecting with our heart rather than our head. But sometimes it works. Martellus Bennett.
Brian eventually saw the light, benched Romo, and ended up making it to the playoffs to salvage his fantasy football dignity for the season. And Brian also says that he's going to be battling the time difference from Europe to make our draft live.
However, the last sporting event he stayed up late for was Game 7 of the NBA Finals. So maybe we'd rather him stay in bed.
Yeah. Brian is most likely to relentlessly wear you down for days until you finally agree to a trade that you never wanted to make to begin with just to get him off your back.
Everyone knows partying is a huge part of life, bro. But how can you crush it when you're so constricted by the shirt you're wearing? So always party shirtless. This guy gets it.
Only a few picks left. I'm gonna pick number 4.
Kobe. Oh, babe, no one's going to believe this. If Nick has a rival for worst fantasy season of 2012, it may very well be Kobe Kenny. Kobe's pain of loss was compounded by the way in which he lost. He dropped both Randall Cobb and CJ Spiller before the start of the first game, a mistake which haunts him to this day.
Kobe seems to have the largest knowledge base of any owner when it comes to the NFL. This often causes him to overthink every decision he makes, making him ineligible for the dumb luck that other players fall into. Kobe's generosity also works against him in fantasy, as he often wishes to help other players have good seasons instead of being cutthroat. Can you even imagine Colin or Corey telling someone in last year's draft to take Doug Martin because he's going to be good this year? Oh, Kobe.
Look for him to draft players you've never heard of, be right about them, but drop them too soon to reap the benefits. If Kobe ever wants to be truly happy, he needs to either win this league or have the Texans win the Super Bowl.
We still aren't sure which is more likely.
Kobe is most likely to take a Facebook argument from 0 to 60 when someone decides to troll him concerning his football knowledge. Would you ever take Phillip Rivers over Eli Manning?
No.
Just curious.
All right, down to pick number 3.
Mary.
Mary is definitely not the kind of girl who tries to be one of the boys in order to beat the boys. Last year, she was the GM of Mary's Sassy Bunnies. That's correct. The most over-the-top, feminine, and wimpy name ever, making it sting twice as much when she had the best draft of anyone and ended up in the runner-up position.
And if you were one of those players who was humiliated after being hopped on by Mary's Sassy Bunnies, you know exactly what we're talking about. And with a solid lineup of potential keepers to go with her obviously stellar football knowledge, it's clear that Mary will again be a force to be reckoned with this season.
We have Mary as most likely to have a team name that seems like an inside joke that you're not in on. Well, scream collusion all you want. That only leaves one pick for number 2.
It's me. God, Colin is going to be livid. Assumed to be a threat before the start of last year, Nick's season descended into Mark Sanchez territory, butt fumbling his way to the bottom of the standings.
Nick, the level-headed commissioner, always with the best of intentions, somehow seems incapable of getting a handle on his fantasy team. He is haunted by his plans gone horrifyingly wrong, such as drafting Darren McFadden and Matt Forte with his first 2 picks, or once even trading Rob Gronkowski for Sean Green.
Nick seems to have become something of a punchline around the league, incapable of making the playoffs, pulling off a good trade, or ever finishing with an even almost better record than his wife. Look for Nick to go the opposite of Mrs. Smith, loving his team to start the season before attempting to trade them all after week 10. Until he shows signs of improvement, Nick should be the pick to finish dead last this season. After all, when the only thing Nick could take pride in last season was finishing 1 spot ahead of a team that started Ben Tate for most of the year, there isn't much lower you can go.
We have Nick as most likely to finally snap and give up forever when he hears one "your wife is better at fantasy football than you" joke too many. And as we saw earlier, Eric will be taking the number 1 pick. With the number 1 pick, the pressure is going to be squarely on Eric to win the title this season. He was victorious over his wife in last year's title game, which means he's basically the opposite of Nick.
Yeah, and even more impressive is the fact that Eric won the title while starting the 2012 version of Eli Manning as his quarterback. And speculation is that he may select Brandon Weeden as his quarterback for this season just to see if he can really put us to shame.
Is Brandon Weeden still starting?
Maybe. I don't know.
Wow.
Now rumors are abounding that he will keep a running back from last year to go along with a running back he'll take in round 1 to form the strongest team going into the season.
We have Eric as most likely to repeat as fantasy football champion. Thank you for watching the 2013 Monday Morning GM's Fantasy Selection video.
Well, good luck to everybody. We wish you the best of luck. We'll be in touch soon and start thinking about those keepers.
Which is better, winning the Super Bowl or losing the Super Bowl?
Winning.
Definitely. But have any of you actually won the Super Bowl?
Well, we made it, right, bro?
I won a Big 12 South co-championship once. It's essentially the same thing.
Really? What was that like?
It was pretty awesome. Super intense. A few sack dances. And the crowd was just like,
Well, I'm sure you all will have many chances to win the Super Bowl in your careers. Well, most of you.